Cool, we're in. What's up, Pat? How you doing, man?
Good. Good to be
Good.
here, man. It's good
How,
to see you guys.
yeah. How long
Yeah.
has it been?
Over a year.
It's definitely at least over a year.
Definitely over a year. I don't think it's been a while. The last time may have been in your office when we had that lunch like 2 years ago.
Oh, wow. Yeah, yeah.
Dang.
Are you talking about the one where we just put tables together and it was a
Yeah,
long? That was
big Chick-fil-A
actually,
lunch.
dude, that was two offices, three offices
Yeah, that
ago.
was in
Oh,
Arlington.
wow. Yes, that was in
I
Arlington.
guarantee you that was the last time. I don't know when else it would have
I
been.
mean, I think we saw each other at events and stuff like that, probably.
I just haven't been
At least I
attending a
saw
lot.
you, probably. You were probably in the front talking to the crowd and stuff like that.
No, it's good to be here, man. I
Cool, man.
appreciate you reaching out.
Happy to do it. Happy to do it. You're a mover and a shaker, man. We're in the same market, so it's
Yeah,
always good to catch up.
absolutely.
So yeah, dude, I mean, you just jumped into a totally different industry, huh? Maybe
Yeah.
not entirely different. You're exposed to it maybe, but you kind of took a big leap, didn't you?
So it was, but Kyle and I did a lot of builds over the past 8 years or so, and it was just buying lots, and someone else would build them for us.
Yeah.
And I just love that space for a couple reasons. One, I think it's and we build new construction on infill lots. I think it's less risky than a flip in a lot of ways
Hmm.
because you have a newer construction house. Obviously, new construction house is gonna sell a little better. We know exactly what our costs are to build it. There's no real surprises. Your surprises are some dirt stuff sometimes, but it's not as intense as foundation issues at a flip or one thing that's been a big theme for us over the past 8 months when things have gotten really difficult is septic tanks. I feel like
Yeah.
every single septic tank has an issue, so you get these $20,000 surprises flipping that you don't get as much in new construction. And um, we just had such a great leadership group at Yellowbird, and running that sales team was fun, but I think it took 5 years off my life. So when me and Kyle split, a lot of the leadership operational people came over with me. So I wanted a business model that was operationally heavy and not as sales
Right.
heavy. Just because we do a great job running traction, we do a great job with our L10 meetings and solving problems, and a great group of people. And that's what building is. It's a
Hmm.
leadership heavy people operational business. And as you guys know, infill lots and land are just a little more blue ocean than houses, a space that got incredibly crowded, especially
Gotcha.
in
Yep.
Jacksonville over the past 5 years. So it was other than the fact that I had no idea how to build a house, it was a good transition for us on the land side to go from houses to infill lots
And
because I just look at them as
historically,
a flip.
you've done a tremendous amount of flips, or you're part of a tremendous amount of flips. So, like with the building, there's nothing hidden behind walls. There are no walls,
Right.
right? But in flips, surprises can come up,
Yep.
and it can either
Expensive
cause you to
surprises.
go in the negative, or break even, or make way less profit than you thought that would happen.
Hmm.
So, what percentage of times did that happen, where things like kind of soured a good or potentially great
Flip.
deal? Yeah.
When things were fun in real estate in Jacksonville, very very little,
Okay.
right? I mean, we've had incredible growth, unprecedented growth, and home price appreciation over the past 5 years in Jacksonville. The
Yep.
music stopped in June 2022
Hmm.
when we had the big interest rate hike, and it was still retail was still strong for a while, but it's got harder every single month over that time period. And I know you look at Zillow or whatever, we haven't had a huge price drop, but I think reality is the price has dropped 10 or
Yep.
15% between time on market, seller concessions or buyer concessions, and
Yep.
all those pieces. So I'd say we'll do we'll do between 50 and 60 flips this year, and I would say 10% of them will probably be losers, because uh, me and Coop are doing most of the acquisitions at this point,
Hmm.
and we're comfortable with that because it means we're dancing on that line. If we're winning on every single one, that means we're missing deals, in my opinion. As simple as that.
Yep.
So no one ever wants to lose on a deal, but
Right.
if you take a chance and you lose 5-10 grand here and there, you took a chance on a deal that could have easily made 20 in a different market. As an example, I'm doing one with Mike McKay, a trailer over in the west side, where when we looked at the deal, it was easily 60-70K deal. But obviously, I don't know if you guys seen the trailer market too, but that got crushed. We had a big time septic issue. It was a homemade septic tank. So everything that could have went wrong did go wrong, and we'll end up breaking even or losing a little money. But a couple things change, and you could have easily made 70. So I'm never going to give up not doing those deals because we're scared or anything like that. I think losing a couple is important because it means you're not trying hard enough otherwise.
Gotcha. So your operation right now, it's flipping and new construction?
It's mostly new construction. So we're at a team of about 37 at this point with 5 VAs in there. And most of that operation is a new construction operation. And that's my focus day to day. The flipping thing is Coop is hunting deals. I'm still hunting deals to keep kind of cash flowing in and keep that moving. And we have the construction crews to do it. But at the same time, Coop and Hayden are also sourcing lots. So a lot of our marketing is more infill lot focused, but naturally houses kind of come from that too. And we've been doing it a long time. So I like the idea of keeping houses kind of flowing too, but it's not taking a ton of my time now. The main focus is new
What
construction.
are the business departments that you have in the company? So you said you have 37 people, 5 of them are VAs.
Yep.
What are the VAs focusing on, and the people that are here in the States, what do they do?
The VAs are mostly accounting. So in what we're doing with new construction, we'll start 180 houses this year. And there's a lot of cash going in and out, a lot of bills that need to be paid, a lot of invoices coming in. So those accounting, accounts receivable and all that, paying bills, that's all done by VAs.
Okay.
The bulk of your people is going to be superintendents. So we have 15 superintendents at this point. We have an incredible team. And that's the bulk of it. So I have one leader that runs all of construction, and he has all the superintendents
Under him.
Yeah, and a girl, Reese, who's fantastic, who runs all of permitting under Miguel as well. And Miguel's also over purchasing. So another leader, Dylan, will run purchasing. He has two VAs under him in purchasing that help him with estimating, generating POs, stuff like that. And then we have all our agents. We have 5 real estate agents at this point because we still have the rental portfolio that we're selling off a little bit of the time, and they're also selling new construction.
Are the agents like full-time just selling the new construction, or they're just independent contractors?
It's they are independent contractors. I want it set up in a way that they're experienced high-level agents running their own business, but we're the bulk of it right now. They're welcome to do a one-off deal, but they're selling new construction and they're selling our flips and anything with the rental portfolio that we're selling. So
5 people.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you said you're going to start 180 houses this year.
Yep.
Okay. Might it be 182, Sam?
Maybe.
What's holding you back?
So I'd like to know about the business model that you have with other people. So you said you build not just for yourself, but also for other people.
Yep, that's the bulk of it this year, actually. We'll start 35 on our own lots this year, and the reason it's only 35 is because permitting was a really intense challenge early on with this.
Is it in Duval County or Clay County?
It's Duval. Everything's Duval. And I'm not talking shit about the Duval permitting department or anything like that. It's just learning that process.
I don't think they're watching us.
But I hate to be someone that just bitches about the city and be like, city's fucked up and this and that. No, it was putting together those permit packs is just, there is so much detail, and I'm not a detail-oriented person, and so much knowledge that needs to go into them, or you're just going to get kicked back over and over again. So we'll only start 35 of ours this year because we finally got permitting rolling end of the year.
He's just not a builder, so that shit had fallen apart.
But other than the other, 150 houses or so will be other investors, the bulk of which is JWB. We're doing a bunch of cost plus building for them. So Yeah, it's really simple. If you or any other investor, actually Ben and Coop talked at Jack's RIA the other day, and it was one of the best Jack's RIA events I've ever seen. They did such a fantastic job. They went through the due diligence process of infill lots,
Mm.
which is also pretty complicated. They tried to cover as much as they could during that time period, but that was the other selling point too, was like if you're an investor or a wholesaler, like you can add this to your business, new construction to your business using us. Like you're
Mhm.
buying these lots, look at them as flips. We'll give you a bid on the build, and if the numbers work, do it.
Mhm.
But yeah, we'll if you had a lot, we'd take you completely through permitting. We'd build the house and then turn it over to you when it's done.
So
But
how does the model work financially?
So you have the lot, you'd buy it, you'd send it to us. We'd give you a couple recommendations on floor plans. You'd pick one. We'd send you a bid, and our bids are really um, really not the word intense, but they're really uh, you get every single
Itemized.
line. You get every single line item in there, and you see what everything costs, and you give a thumbs up on the bid, and then we go through permitting. And then once we're ready to build, you'd have some final costs that come in, which is like when we bid your lot, we're not going to know what the city's going to charge you to connect to sewer or
Sure.
connect to water or
Sure.
anything like that, or exactly how much dirt we'll need. So you'll have your final cost, your final bid, and we commit to that number at that point, and you tell us to go. And we're building right now in about 110 days. So 110 days later, if it doesn't rain for 6 weeks, uh, you walk the
And
house.
it sure will.
You walk the house and gets turned over to you. And financially, on the draw schedule, it's a very simple draw schedule of 10 draws. It's I think it's 15. It's $2,500 deposit for us to do permitting, and then it's 15% once we pour the slab or right before we pour the slab, and then it's like the last little bit in 10 draws. It ends up being like 8.5%.
So most people, so let's get to the cost. So cost wise, an average price per square foot.
I'm not allowed. I'm not allowed to say. I'll give you a
Okay, that's
range.
fine.
I'll give you a range because it is so lot specific.
Sure.
It's so incredibly lot specific, whether you have a septic tank or you're going to hook up to the city, or you need a ton of dirt, or it's wet, or you need to take $10,000 trees down.
Mm.
I can tell you, if everything is perfect, and
Which it won't be.
which
Yeah,
it
that's
won't
what I
be,
figured.
but just the vertical piece.
Yeah.
So take all the horizontal out. Just the vertical piece on a like one of our lowest grade rental type houses, you're going to be between 115 and 125. I would say.
150 and 125.
Yep.
115?
15.
115 and 125.
Yep.
So let's call it 120 just for easy math.
Yeah.
If it's $120, an average house is probably about 1,500 square feet, or
I'd
it's also a lot dependent.
Most of what we're building is 1,200 square feet because it's in, it's rougher areas, 32209, 06, stuff like that.
Got it.
Okay.
So it's about what is that? $140,000, $50,000
Yep.
to build it. So I'm assuming most people don't have 150,000 in pocket. So how do most people finance that?
There is an incredible amount of options for financing new construction right now.
Mm.
All of the lenders where everyone would know their name, whether it's Genesis or Lima One or Chris Ridge is with Revino now. They're fantastic. Fund that flip. I'm not sure if they're still around, but they did a couple for us. They're great. Dominion Capital up in Baltimore, Fred and Jack are awesome. Any of those lenders, are
Does
hard.
Avi do too?
Kiavi
Kiavi.
will, of course, yeah, they're really good also, and we've had great experiences with Kiavi. So all those guys have new construction programs.
Okay.
And so
So-
essentially, they provide financing for the new construction. I'm assuming it's some kind of a percentage. So the investor has to have some skin in the game.
Yeah,
And then the draw schedule, you just align with that lender, and then they do the draw schedule, or how does that work?
we don't. It gets too complicated for us. So if you're going to build a house, you're going to want you're going to want to own the lot in cash, and you're going to want to have some fluff there.
Right.
So have 50 grand that you can use to pay out draws and reimburse that while you're getting draws from your lender at the same
Got
time.
it.
So
Okay.
it's easy if you have a couple of houses. It gets to be a pretty complicated cash flow game if you have 10, 20, 30 going. So to be honest, that's something we're focused on is efficient cash management
Yep.
at that level.
I want to ask like a rudimentary question because I know for a long time, and I'm probably still not 100% clear on this, but I know a lot of people that are watching are not going to be 100% clear. Infill lots,
Yep.
are those just lots that are clear mostly and ready to go?
No, not necessarily cleared and ready to go, but they are already developed. So infill means infilling neighborhoods that are already there and developed,
Mm,
right? So we're not doing communities yet. We will be one day. The term infill means the community was already there. A lot of the urban core of Jacksonville was developed in the early 1900s, something like that. So
Yep.
you have just leftover lots
yeah.
that were never built on.
Yep.
So infill is that, but they're not necessarily cleared. They have cars parked on them. They're jungles.
Gotcha. So it
So
can be hilly and lots of trees on it and still be an infill lot.
for sure.
Interesting.
Yep.
I kind of thought of the term as kind of just undeveloped. Like if it's not an infill lot, it's just not developed. You know, it still has to be
Well,
leveled, like
well,
trees removed, leveled, and prepared to be an infill lot. That's what I actually initially thought.
there's if it's not an infill lot, you're right by saying that. If it's
Yep.
not an infill lot, it's undeveloped. But in infill lots are developed, but you still need horizontal work for the most part to get them done. So that's something to think about as you're buying lots. Like as Ben's
Right.
Coop's buying lots and Ben is kind of giving the thumbs up or thumbs down on him, he's looking at it and looking at the price Coop's paying. And he's saying, how much clearing do we need? How much dirt does it need? How many trees need to come down?
Right.
So it's still a developed lot. It's got a lot number for the city of Jacksonville
Right,
if you
right,
look it up, but
subdivision.
it still needs horizontal work. They all do.
Yeah, yeah, that makes total sense. So one of the funny things you said, man, was all right, so you have a good grasp on everything in the business model, but you don't know how to build a house. At least you didn't know how to build a house.
Yep.
So you just went in and started one? Or did you like pick 1,000 brains?
Yeah. How did that happen?
Are you more of like a learn by doing type person?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so you're not afraid to get your hands dirty because there's a lot of analysis by paralysis out there, and I don't think that you're one of those people.
I don't have that to a detriment at some points. I was just incredibly confident that we could figure it out, and that goes back to the way we operate with our meetings. And I figured we would take it one problem at a time,
Right.
and we would seriously screw up the first couple, and then we'd slowly figure it out. And that's the way I learned. So. I guess the first real big step forward was hiring talent, really good talent. So Dylan was the first guy we brought on. He's from Jacksonville, but he was living in Denver. He's an Army veteran, lived in Denver, worked for DR Horton for a lot of years, did purchasing superintendent, and we're really good at hiring too. So we attracted him, had a couple interviews. It was a no-brainer. So he came and he started July or August of 2023, and we were still in the preliminary phases of setting up the company and insurance and all the horse shit that goes along with that, which I'm sure you're very familiar with. And
one of the first hires outside of the team that you
outside of the team we already had, yes, one of them for sure. And he came in, and we were paying a couple guys at JWB to come in for consulting with us too. But so we had a lot of help, but we very, very much still had to do it. So a combination of Dylan and Ben and Jim over at JWB, we poured our first slab in October. And Miguel, who now works for us, he's production manager. He was our concrete guy, and he helped a lot. So you'll find that like, if you're humble and not a dick about it and act like you know everything, a lot of the subcontractors will be great resources as well. Like your concrete subs, your framing subs, all that. So it was a mix of bringing on talent and figuring out as we went. And a big decision for me was, am I going to go out there and super houses? And my initial my initial thing was, yeah, of course I am. Like, I'm going to grind with everybody
Figure
else.
it out.
But
Yep.
I found that ended up just being more of an ego thing. Like, I felt I was out there making an impact, but when you look at it holistically, is that going to help us grow faster? If I am out supering houses, is that going to benefit Ben? Is that going to benefit the other supers we bring on? Is that going to benefit Coop financially? If I'm spending all my days figuring out how to build a house, does that benefit the company, or does that just make me feel good?
Right.
Um,
Was part of it maybe getting yourself exposed to all the parts of it so you understand it better, so you can be a better effective leader?
well, that was my thought process,
Okay.
but even doing that, uh, I decided that it wasn't my highest and best to go and learn how to build a house.
Okay.
To understand it at a high level and to focus on capital and to focus on lots and the pipeline and developer relationships, and bring on really good talent and pay them right to do it was the
Right.
better path for where I was going. And that all comes back to, like, where are you going?
Yep.
What are you trying to do? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? And it's not a bad business. If I did learn to build houses and I did 20 every year, Ben did 20 every year, and we just ran, and we built 80 houses a year, like, that's a great business and
Yeah.
great, but that was never my goal.
Mm-hmm.
I love scale. I love the leadership side of it.
Mm-hmm.
And because that wasn't my goal and I didn't see myself adding any value on the construction side 5 years from now, um, I just didn't do it because I didn't think that was the highest and best.
So it sounds like, um, from everything that you're saying from the beginning until now, you started off pointing out permitting, and you didn't want to throw shade at the city, which totally get because you had to learn the process. So it
Right.
sounds like a lot of files did get returned,
Oh, yeah.
and you had to once again learn by doing.
Yeah.
So you had to try at it, it got returned, you figured out what the mistake was. So how did that process go
Um,
in the beginning?
Painful. Uh,
Is it painful because money's on the line, time's on the line,
yeah,
payrolls need to be
for
paid,
sure.
things need to be built and sold?
In me and Kyle split in April or May of 2023 and started immediately after. And I projected out the next 18 months, financials, everything, because the way we did it is not normal, right? Not to go from 0 to 180 houses that fast is not normal.
Right.
We needed to do that, you need to hire extremely talented, well-paid people. You need 15 superintendents that are well-paid, that are bonused right, and you need to attract people at a high level. So your payroll goes like this, and you're not necessarily building houses to get there. So the projections were very, very important, and hitting those numbers on those timelines was incredibly important because we didn't take out any debt. This entire business has been funded with equity, and you don't want to become a money pit. And if you become a money pit by everything getting held up in permitting and you're not starting any houses, you're not making any money.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was intense during that time period. But you solve that problem by looking at it every single week. And I think having a weekly meeting pulse of an L10 or whatever it is the most important part. And you're solving problems every week, and to-dos come from those problems, and then you follow up on it next week. So that's how it went, was just one bite at a time sort of
That
thing.
sounds incredibly risky. Like you basically, so you're saying that you started the company, no debt was taken out. You just had the idea that you're gonna start developing infill lots, and you're scaling to 180 houses. And what was the period of time that it took place within?
So
A year or two?
the other piece of it too is like the JWB guys are friends of mine. So I had the commitment. My original plan was to go down and take it slow and just do my own stuff in the beginning and get other investor type business. But I got a commitment to them for them to give me some lots too. So
To build on.
not give me lots, but
Yeah.
we cost plus build
Correct.
for them. So that required us to move faster. And to be honest, my answer to them was no at first, because I wanted to keep my team and take our time with it. But once again, my team is the most important thing to me, and I looked at their future and what would be best for them,
Right.
and it's growth. And so yeah, it was
You
risky
kind of
to
like
grow
put the
that
cart
fast.
in front of the horse at that
100%.
point.
And planned on success.
What
So,
was I'm curious if you can share, what were the number commitments? So you're saying that you've had the payroll, and obviously it takes 180 days to, or how many days did you say it takes on average
160.
to build the house?
Well, 120 we're at right now on
120.
So
average.
Sam is a financial analyst with an
Yeah.
accounting degree,
Hmm.
which is why he keeps going down the numbers.
Yeah.
He loves the
So I'm
numbers.
curious, like what was the payroll commitment that you had to fulfill before you even brought money into the door?
I mean, yeah, so it was different every month, right? So we're growing as
Yeah,
we
keep
go. Um, so I mean, I don't mind sharing our payroll right now. You're at like $110,000 a month. So think that it went up quasi linearly from last summer to now. I want to say last summer maybe we were at 40,
Wow.
40 or so.
And that's what you had to commit to on a monthly basis just to start,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Wow. And there's no money coming in the door for the future 120 days at least
On
least.
new
on
construction.
new construction.
Right. So that's I mentioned me and
Doing
I
flips.
still had
Yeah.
a flip pipeline.
Mm,
I'm still doing some wholesaling. That's a business I've been in a long time at this
Right.
point. So that was 100% my plan. I knew Flight wouldn't make money for 18 months. I knew that. And even at this point, we started turning a profit like 4 months ago, which is super exciting. But it's still like the cash flows haven't matched
Yeah.
up with it yet. So you have an accounting
yeah.
degree. We're accrual based accounting with a
Mhm.
WIP report. So even though you're making money,
You have accounts receivable, but they're not cash in the business yet.
well, you have accounts receivable and their cash in the business, but as you're doing a construction job, like sometimes I have to go ahead and pay money for those trusses, right? So
Right.
maybe if I'm building your house, I'm floating 10 grand for you that
Right.
month, even though I've done the work and earned that on my accrual based accounting
Correct.
income statement. It's showing I'm making money, but I'm actually 10 grand lower that month. So it's a cash flow game
Yeah.
at the same time, but the answer is yes, extreme risk, and it was, just to get a little deeper on it. There was me and Kyle split. It was a conversation with me. I involved my wife in that conversation because it would have been very easy for me to go down the road of just keeping the core team and be like,
Yeah.
hey, we'll continue to flip and wholesale and build some houses and life will be really easy. Plenty
Yeah.
of the money in the bank, this and that. But this is it took a lot of deep thought to go down this road, and I knew it was what I wanted. I knew it's who I am, was like running things like this. My wife was good with it. So it was a math equation of I have this much cash. It's going to take this much to do it. This is when I think it's profitable. This is what I think I can make flipping on the back end to kind of subsidize this. And it's just taking a bet on yourself
So the
there.
fact that you hit profitability, you're saying that you just recently hit profitability
4 months ago,
4 months ago. How long did it take from the moment you started to the moment you hit
10
profitability?
months.
10 months.
Damn.
Was
Um,
that the expectation?
yep.
Nice.
It weirdly hit almost exactly as I projected it.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
So
But
you,
that's the power of projecting,
yeah,
right?
That's
Like a lot of
amazing.
times that does happen that way. But we're still in a spot where we are making money, accrual based accounting
It's
wise.
probably small profits and they're
Right.
just growing.
Right.
yeah. So you said initially you were telling JWB no because you wanted to start in a certain way.
It wasn't like in my head, it was no, we had an
Yeah,
initial
yeah.
meeting and nothing really came from it
Hmm.
at first. Just because I wasn't sure. I was just
Okay.
getting out of a partnership that was a great partnership for a lot of
Yep.
years, but I wasn't super open to jumping right back into
Of
one, even
course.
though I've known Safakis and Eisman a
Right.
really long time, and we've done deals together and stuff. But
Right.
I just was cautious, and cautious for them too, because they're also taking a
Right.
risk.
That was going to be part of my question. Was it like an argument with yourself on whether you should move forward or not with the cost plus building, or did they have influence too? Like, hey man, you should do it. It's a good idea.
They were super cool about it.
Hmm.
How it came to fruition was when I started going down this road. I called everyone I knew that was involved in infill building, like, Richard Briggs,
Yep.
them, and I was incredibly clear of like, hey, this is the road I'm going down. Actually, my original pitch to Safakis was, hey, let me buy these. I try to add value always,
Sure.
especially when I'm starting off and I don't know shit. Like I just try to go and add value to
Yep.
people. Hey man, let me buy these rather than wholesale it to you and me make $1,500. Like let me just buy it. I'll build the houses and you sell, and I'll finance the whole thing and you sell them, and we'll do some sort of profit split. And then he was like, let's talk a little deeper about that. So it's not like I was like definite no at first, but
Right.
we were both, and they were super cool about it too. We were both
For
cautious
sure.
going into it, and they have done everything they said they were going to do, and more. We both had wants and needs coming into it, and it's been fantastic so far.
That's
Nothing but
amazing,
great
man. You
things
have
to say
such
about
good
them.
advocates surrounding you
Hmm.
Yeah.
with that path. So, other than permitting, though, what was the biggest surprise? Like, I didn't even see this coming.
I got to tell you, I know you say other than permitting, but in my mind, as long as I had builds lined up, like the goal this first year was, I think the original goal was 200, but we're going to hit 180. And as long as I have 180 addresses that I'm building on in 2024, I've won.
Okay.
I've got it.
Okay.
Not, not the case. The biggest challenge with
Wait, what do you
infill build,
mean addresses?
just like addresses in the pipeline that I'll be
Yeah.
building on.
Okay. Okay.
So
Okay.
whether they're my own lots or lots I've committed to build for JWB, or
I just
uh,
didn't know if there's like a part of the process where you have to allocate an address
I mean,
to
there
the
there
lot.
is if it's a zero, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I just mean lots. I
Yeah.
should
Yeah.
have said
Okay.
lots.
Okay.
180 lots to build on, then I'm good. Um, but there are so many. Every single lot is different. There's so many issues with building infill that it's just not that simple. There's a bunch of stuff that gets delayed. The permitting was a massive issue to get through in the beginning. We've since solved it, but even now, like there's stuff that's getting long delays because the neighbor's, water pipe is running through your lot, sort of thing. It's just all sorts of little issues
Mm-hmm.
that you take on an infill building that you wouldn't if you were just developing a community from scratch.
Right. Right. Right.
So that was what I didn't. I thought, I pictured it in my head as like having this big pipeline of lots and just plucking them off, and rather than the grind of flipping houses, which is like, how painful it is to find
Mhm.
one deal and how much
Of
money it takes and how much
course.
effort. Like
Mhm.
my thought was, okay, now I have 90 lots and I basically have 90 flips in my pipeline, and it'll continue to grow. And rather than buying a house was 200 grand, I'm buying lots for 10.
Mhm.
So my balance sheet's much less, and now I
Yeah.
have all this flip inventory,
Yeah.
and it's just certainly not that simple.
I mean, it
Did
sounds like
you?
a nightmare if you have infill lots throughout different parts of the city because it's
Oh
not
yeah.
one subdivision. So you
No,
have to send contractors to
All
different
over.
parts of
Yeah.
town
for
at
sure,
all times.
Yeah.
all times.
So it sounds like a logistical nightmare.
Yeah, and the better you are at process and accountability and leadership of the guys in the field, and the better your supers are at accountability with subcontractors and the relationships with those subcontractors, not treating them like you're, you know, not treating them like shit because they work for you. No, we're partners in it, and you create really good long-lasting relationships with great subcontractors, and you keep your scheduling in order and you treat everybody right, and that's how that's solved. But it's a lot. There's a lot of moving parts.
Right.
What about property preservation? I mean, you own lots. You probably don't start building the day that you own it, unless you do,
I don't.
which sounds magical.
No.
But if you own it and you don't start building for 1, 2, or 3 months or more, is the city citing those properties for overgrown grass and
Yep.
other things that might go wrong with it?
Sure are.
Did you already have that in the back of your mind
No.
before going into it?
No. I mean, it just never. I knew I'd have to cut the grass, but I didn't pay it much mind. So
Right.
whenever we get a citation, we cut the grass.
Okay. It's reactive.
It's more reactive now. We're working to be more proactive
I
with it, but
got
some lots are just jungles,
you. Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
you don't really
Well,
need to
the
do it.
worst part is, like you said, the permitting in most cases, I'd say it's probably more frustrating than the building process itself. Because if you have no, like you have a building and let's say you framed it and you can't get, to the next stage, or you just have a concrete slab and you can't get to the next stage and you're just waiting on somebody to sign something off, you're literally holding up contractors, you're
Yeah.
holding up
Hmm.
materials,
Yeah.
your wood rots if it was delivered already, it's just sitting outside.
So
And
that doesn't really happen. That's all on the super. Like unless there's a major catastrophe, it's just not going to sit there at slab. So your prep work, if it's done right, the construction is just smooth, and the super, because theft is a problem out there.
Hmm.
So take it very seriously not to get wood or anything framing materials delivered unless they're going up that day.
mm,
So
Makes sense.
all of that scheduling stuff is on our supers, and as I said, they're just a phenomenal group.
so the most challenging part is then to just get the first approval from the city, and from there on, it's much easier.
Hmm.
The package approval.
I would say, and I'm jaded because of where I spend my time, right? The supers and Miguel are would have a different opinion for you on what the most challenging part is, and I think
Yeah.
they would say scheduling and holding vendors accountable for
Yeah.
stuff. The most challenging part for where I'm involved and Ben is cash flow management, picking the right house for that lot, and getting through the city on the permitting piece of it. Yes.
The first approval.
Yeah.
Really, for me, it's like due diligence on the lot and like making sure you didn't buy something that is unbuildable or needs a bunch of dirt, or you thought it had sewer hookup and it doesn't, or it
Yeah.
doesn't have water capacity,
Has
or
that
that's,
happened
oh yeah.
where you've bought lots and then you just can't build them?
Not that we can't build them, but we have bigger surprises because this is stuff we bought last year when didn't know what we were doing as well, and
Mm.
we thought they all had water, and now they don't.
Yeah.
So that's $8,000 hit because you need a well. So
Yeah,
little
man.
things like that.
As we're sitting here, like, I mean, if you rewind, a year and a half, or whenever I first heard Pat was getting into building, I didn't really think much of it. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But as we're sitting here, like one of the first things I think of is if I was going to do the same thing, like inventory sounds like it would be a problem, but it doesn't sound like finding inventory is as much as a problem as I would have thought it was.
It's because the stuff we're buying, there's just not a lot of buyers for it now.
Right.
Um,
Right now or
yeah,
in general? Okay.
right now. I mean, JWB, they're still a buyer for infill lots. They've
Yep.
slowed down a little bit. There's just not as many people that will buy an infill lot, especially in rougher areas, as people that would buy a flip. Right?
Right.
There's way
Hmm.
less buyers.
Yeah.
But I'd be lying to you if I said it was plentiful and there was just a steady flow of it. Even on the tax deed, Ben did the tax deed yesterday. There were tons of lots, and he didn't buy any of them
Yeah.
because they're getting bid up so high.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
and especially like the more retailable stuff,
Yeah.
it's like I would love more of that, because the margins on the rougher area stuff in selling them retail is a little bit of a question mark right now.
Yep.
It's like, will this stuff in '09, in the deep parts of '09, sell for 225 retail?
Right.
Or do they sell for 185 retail? Do they not sell at all? Right. So we put a lot of focus in on the sales team and those people that are selling those houses. And I will report back when
So
I
you
know.
mentioned that you and Coop right now are doing the acquisitions. Are you guys the
Most
only
it's
acquisition people?
mostly Coop,
Mostly Coop?
Coop and um, Coop and Hayden works. The guy Hayden works for them too.
And how are they sourcing these lots?
We do PPC, a lot of wholesaler relationships, but PPC for lots. We're doing some mailers. Nothing, nothing great. We're all the old Yellowbird data. They're texting lists. They're cold calling. They're hitting the tax deed people. All the stuff that we always used to do. The more grinder hustle stuff I found in this market is like Yellowbird. We ramped up so fast because we could just throw more money at the problem and we'd buy more deals. Like the more mail we did, the more money we'd make. It's a market now where you need to be a little more of a sniper
Yeah.
and more strategic, and the hustle is way more important. The knocking on doors, the individual calling and texting people, and also wholesaler relationships. That's how stuff's flowing through.
And what's the average pipeline looking like on a monthly basis?
We'll probably buy, and people send us lots too. Like wholesalers send Ben lots. So we're probably buying 8 lots a month, 5 to 8 lots a month, and we're doing 5 house deals a month, 4 or 5.
Flips.
Mostly wholesale.
Okay.
Wholesale.
Mostly wholesale, yeah.
Okay. That's interesting.
Wow. So that's crazy. I had no idea you still wholesale too. That's amazing. So with that stuff, are you doing that as an offset, obviously for cash flow,
Yeah.
Yes.
but you're doing all types of marketing, so those things are going to come up
Yeah.
because of the marketing you're doing also?
Yep.
Is it like tough to kind of focus the marketing on lots for new builds? Like if you're going to do PPC campaigns, um, can you control? Well, I guess you
Land for
can
sale?
due to the ads
Yeah.
to try to just get land.
We
But
have
other,
someone else do it. We
right?
pay, yeah, I think I think it is
You think
Bateman.
Bateman? Yeah.
Bateman
Yeah.
does our land stuff.
No way.
Dude,
Yeah.
you guys do you do video for your ads?
No.
Oh my gosh, we saw almost 100% increase when we went from static posts to video posts.
Really?
It's been a definite game changer, and our rep has told us like that our videos, our click-through rate and everything is like on the very high end for what they have, for
Oh,
what he
amazing.
has as an account manager. So I'd definitely say video is a good source if you're
Yeah, it
take
was
a
like
look at it.
17% higher
Yeah.
than their highest,
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
which was
it was
awesome.
really high.
And it was just kind of something we wanted to try because, you know, Bateman is really great at what we do, and we get good lead flow from it.
Yeah.
And we asked to try to put these videos in, and they did, and it just went higher.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like we didn't trust them or they don't already do well, because they definitely do. But by a whim, we had a gut feeling, and it worked out really, really
Awesome.
well. So it's like, and the funny thing is, because the PPC is supposed to be higher quality than the Facebook ads, but those were on
Oh
Facebook
yeah,
ads, right?
the Facebook ads have been really, really
And the
good, and we've
Facebook
had a couple
ads,
deep ones too off of the Facebook ads.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's just something like that they're getting that like social presence, and I guess they feel like they know you a little bit more.
Yeah, that
And they
makes
start
sense.
looking into your company and stuff
was
afterwards. It's
C
really
Street from a
interesting.
Facebook ad? Do we know?
I don't
No, it
know.
was
She
Google.
it was
Oh, was
yeah.
it?
Yeah.
She went online and did a lot of research.
Tell
But
Pat the
I've seen a lot of the deals that come in, and they come in through Facebook, and we get a lot of like descriptive of like what's going on with the house, what they need and what they're looking to do. And it's just really interesting to see, like, when he said do the video, I'm like, I don't know if that's necessarily going to work. You're going to put cash there. People are going to be like, I want $1 million for this $100,000 house.
or
But
if
it
it
really
works,
hasn't
why
been
would
that
Bateman
bad.
not already be doing video,
Well,
right?
that was what we had said to Jared is we're like, dude, what do you mean you don't have anybody doing videos? Like, nobody wants to do the videos. So we don't really have anybody doing it. We have like 1 or 2 people. And I was like, well, Sam's going to do it. So we'll send you 2 and put them up. And he's been asking us for 2 more ever since, because he's like, yeah, we should be doing all videos if we can.
Wow.
You know,
So check this
it's a
out.
big
So
deal.
we got a really like our best deal I've ever done, best deal I think each of us
Yeah.
have ever done, which we're still in the middle of right now. So Sam gets, and we were all kind of involved. So Sam gets this PPC lead in, right? And it was a lady, and she had an asking price, and the asking price was $350,000, and it was on Anastasia Island in St. Augustine. So it came through that way. He saw it, took a quick peek at it, lit up, called the lady. So what happened on that phone call?
It was like a 2.5 hour phone call. Yeah, so she was just very, very cautious. She, are you
Nervous,
scamming
worried.
me? Am I not gonna get scammed? Just very nervous, nervous Nancy type of lady. And so essentially, I've gone through the whole motion with her, and I was actually at a job site at the
Yeah.
time. I was talking to a contractor, and then I had to, as soon as I saw the lead come in, I looked at the house, and then I was like, I have to go.
And we're still primarily doing phone sales for the
Yeah.
most part. Probably 95 to 99% is
Yeah.
just phone sales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So usually it's phone sales, but after speaking to her, I was like,
We got to go
we
there.
could probably try to just get it under contract over the phone. But I did schedule the appointment for that lead, and I rarely do that. But I had the gut feeling that the
Yeah.
right thing to
You
do
needed to be
was,
there face to face.
yeah, to meet her in person. I scheduled the appointment. It's in St. Augustine, and Lewis lives in St. Augustine, so I just passed it on to him. And day that I scheduled the appointment, he misses the appointment and he doesn't go. And that night, I was still here working in the office, and we all forgot about it too. So I was here working at the office. She calls back and she says, I guess you guys don't want to buy my house. And I'm like, what do you mean? We don't want to buy your house. And she's like, well, you didn't show up. We were here sitting, waiting for you, and you didn't show up.
Man.
Yeah.
So I revived it back and I said, listen, it's totally my fault. I put it on the next day on my calendar. I can totally come in. So we rescheduled. We
Yeah.
rescheduled it was for Friday. I tried to reschedule for the following day. She was just like, there's no way I can do the weekend. So we had to reschedule till Monday.
Yeah.
At that time, she has already spoken to 2 other people,
Yeah.
and we know both of them.
Yep.
And they're wholesalers locally here in Jacksonville. So she spoke to 2 other people, but she did not want to go with either one of them because I built such a strong
Yeah.
rapport on the first call. She still called back and she's like, I want to sell the house to you, but I guess you guys don't want to buy it. So Monday, basically I rescheduled. We then had a discussion, and then we made like a firm commitment that he's going to go to the house on
Yeah.
Monday.
And he
So-
Lewis lives in St. Augustine also. So Lewis was the one that completed the appointment.
Well, and it's
So
funny
then he
when
went
I
to the
went
appointment.
down to go meet her, she's like interrogating me. I'm like, "Hey, this Lewis, I'm meeting you. I live in St. Augustine. Sam lives in Jacksonville, so we're just gonna switch. What's your dog's name?" I'm like, "What?" She's like, "What's your dog's name?" I'm like, "Bentley." How would you know that? And she's like, "Oh, I've already done my research on you. What's the other dog's name?" I'm like, "Lila." So then she's like, "And what do you and your wife like to do on the weekends?" I'm like, "Golf." Like she had gone through my whole bio. She had gone through his. She's asking me questions on him. I'm like, "You went through all of this and we haven't even met yet?" Like she knew so much stuff. But when we met her, I spent 4 hours with her because I mean, she was such a nervous Nelly. But we ended up putting a pretty good deal together with her
Awesome.
and letting her stay. And
So it was
hopefully we'll get that on
I'll
market
give you
this
the
month.
numbers because you've been giving us numbers today all day. They don't like to reveal numbers, I guess. So she initially came in asking for $350,000.
Yeah.
A house is worth about 500 as it sits.
It was
We've
a very unique
offered
situation though too, because she owned the house sub two, but she never actually went through to purchase it sub two. It was like it was deeded to her, but the
Mhm.
by a
mortgage stayed
friend.
by a friend, but the
Yeah.
mortgage stayed in place, and she just kept paying it every
Yeah.
month. And insurance was coming after her, and the house did need repairs, and there was just so many underlying
Yeah.
things that she was like, "I just want to get out of this before I get in
Right.
trouble." This is a
So
little
so it was an asking
interesting.
price of 350. House is worth about 500. He goes to the house. He locks it up for 320. So there's a huge spread.
Which I
Wow.
thought was
The
great.
same day we get so our initial plan was to buy it and sell it to Open Door. The same day Open Door gives us an offer, I think it was
It's
for
560. It was 565 the first time, and then
560.
587 when I updated the square footage because I had the square footage wrong.
Yeah, so
Wow.
Open Door gives us an offer at 500, let's say $60,000. So we're just gonna have to close on this. We can't wholesale this.
Yeah, there's certain deals that come across our desks, and Sam looks in my eyes, and I light up. I'm like, we're
What is
closing
it?
on this as fast as humanly possible.
Yeah,
Well, we did. We closed 7 days
closed it
later.
in
It's
7
like,
days.
yeah, we closed it. So and it could have been quicker. I forgot what
Yeah.
came up. I
We'll
think
put
it
it in
was
the trust.
land trust and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
But so here's what happened. So he locks it up for 320, and then
Dom hits the
we
renegotiation.
we get the offer from Open Door, so we have to just go through the transaction and close on it now. This man goes to her house. We do a full
Let's
inspection
get,
to the
yeah. So
property.
yeah, so we line up hard money. So Glenn lent on it. Shout out to Glenn. Thanks
Yeah.
for your help on this. And then so we get an inspection. And lo and behold, there are surprises on the inspection, right?
There was not a lot of surprises,
There were very big
but you can
surprises.
call them surprises. And then he goes to the house to renegotiate and get a better price. So the surprises that he's talking about is we thought we could keep the roof, but the
Yeah,
roof
roof was
was
shot.
surrounded with so many trees that it was shot. And then the electric panel, every single breaker was double tapped, and it was a 100 amp panel for an 1,800 square feet house. And
And
then
the ground
the
The
ground
foundation
was
was done.
shot
was
completely.
charred and
Correct. So it was a complete rewire, it was a re-roof, and then all those trees would still have to be cut back for the insurance. And I think there was a small crack that indicated that something could be wrong with the foundation.
Where an addition was.
Yes, where the addition was. And then one last thing was that um, the inspector told us, he said, I'm a betting man, so I would bet $1,000 that your drain lines are clogged with tree roots. But he didn't put that in the report, he just told us verbally. So his plumbing, electrical, and the roof are the three things that came. So he went to renegotiate that deal, and he continue on as to what happened later.
Well, I think she threw a number out there, right?
No. So I bought the inspection report to the house, and I just had a talk with her. And whenever I renegotiate anything, I don't really ever hard press it, especially if it's already a deal. But we do go in for renegotiations to increase the income, especially if it's justifiable. So I pointed out all the other stuff, and I told her what the cost range can be. $40,000 to $60,000 or something along those lines. So I asked her for the reduction, and she agreed.
Well, I thought she
Amazing.
threw out 90,000 first, and you were like,
No, I didn't throw. Oh,
What?
she threw 90?
She
did
did.
she say? That on the
Oh,
phone? She's
she
like,
did
she's like, damn, what's
ask.
this gonna cost me? Like 90 grand, and you were like, what? Where did that number
Yeah,
come
90
from?
to $100,000. She said, "Is it going to cost her?" I'm like, "It's not really going to be anywhere near that." And I went through the report, and then I asked her for the reduction, and she agreed.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So like,
Beautiful thing.
But
you
we
know,
did also give her, so she's still staying at the house.
We're moving
We gave her
around
2 months for free
a month.
to stay at the house. We're gonna pay for her first. She wants to move into a
Condo.
rental. She doesn't want to buy a house anymore, because she doesn't want home ownership and insurance and all of that. So we're gonna pay for her first month of rent at the new place, and we gave her 2 months for free, and she can also leave everything in the house, so she doesn't have to remove. So I think overall it was a win-win, and she got a free $120,000 off of a house that a friend gifted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
So
And then they gave us some gold bills.
they gave us gold bills. Of
oh
Donald.
yeah,
Yeah, gold Donald Trump bills.
dude, yeah. They
And
were
they
so
they gave me two of them, so I took one home and I brought one into the office. And as soon as these guys saw it, they were freaking out. So then at closing, they brought plastic baggies with one in each for each of them to give them at closing. It was the funniest. They
Yeah.
were like
Well,
so proud to
she
give
was
them away.
extremely nervous the whole way. So we had actually had to talk to her every single day until the day of close. And then on
Oh
close,
man.
when we went to the title company, and we're sitting at the table at close, payoff is still not 100% accurate and in. And I think what time was it? Like 2? I think her closing appointment time was 2.
Yeah.
And we stayed there with her for like an hour and a half, and then it still wasn't in. And then they had a new title rep there that kept going back and forth with Shell Point.
Yeah.
And then we just had to leave. So we left, everything was signed, and we left, but she stayed there until close, and they still didn't have it in. Oh, no. They
Yeah.
had it in. They actually got it in. They actually drilled out the lender and got the final numbers in, which is a little bit less than what she thought. So she keeps thinking things are reduced. However, that was like just her payoff numbers. And then they initiated the wire, but it didn't go through till the next morning. So she's calling us, still thinking it's a scam, still concerned, worried. But she finally got funded, probably like 1 or 2 hours into the morning.
Awesome.
And then she was like super happy, super thankful. Everything was nice. And then the next day is another phone call that comes in, and like, why is the mortgage still in my name? What's going on here? I'm looking at the county, and it's still in my name and all that stuff. So you have to explain to her it takes 30 days. So another call in a week because it's still not out of our name, and that whole gamut.
So being that was like our biggest deal, and you've been doing this a little bit, what would you say like your biggest deal has been between this venture or your past one? Like the biggest, largest spread?
On an individual single family home.
Oh man. It's a relatively unexciting one. I would point to a time period, and I would point to that time period right after COVID,
Mm-hmm.
when things just really took off. We were buying houses in the fall, the end of the year in 2020 and beginning of the year in 2021, with a lot of uncertainty as far as where stuff was going, and weren't even incredibly deep discounts. These are base hit, like $20,000 flips,
Yeah.
and things took off in 2021. So having the courage during that time period to stay the course and not stop buying and continue to grow our balance sheet, and continue to buy 10, 15 houses a month and actually hold them and renovate them. I think that time period in general, which was basically luck, um, was the biggest point for us. As you guys remember during that time period, like it's like you put something on the market and you get 10 offers and you could sell to hedge funds and Open Door. It's like, man, you could, any lead that come in, you could pretty much buy the house and sell it to somebody. It was a feeding frenzy.
Yeah.
So the stuff we bought at the deeper discounts during the lull right before the feeding frenzy, that time period, that was
Right.
crazy.
I gotcha. I
Okay.
gotcha.
Yeah, we bought one. We did one deal. It was with Daniel Lee, and we bought like 6 or 7 houses from a nonprofit, um, and it was not. It was very okay at the time we bought it. Where we're like, we feel good about this.
Mhm.
You know, 25. They're newer houses, $25,000-$30,000 each. So a good deal.
Crazy.
But things just took off. Not because of anything we did. Things just took off, and we ended up selling a couple to Open Door at ridiculous numbers, a couple to funds, and it just ended up being an incredible deal. I can't remember how
I
big it
don't think
was, but
anybody
just that time
expected to
period.
sell houses on Moncrief for 170 grand. You know? I
Yeah.
mean, when you're saying $25,000 houses, I'm like, you cannot find $25,000 houses today unless they're like damn near burnt
Oh,
down.
I mean like
Oh.
profit margin on them.
Oh.
We're gonna
I
make
thought you were talking about
25
buying
grand
them
on
at
them.
In
cheap.
Cleveland, you can.
Well, yeah.
Cleveland is ridiculously.
Yeah.
So, are you guys currently only doing Duval County?
For building?
Yes.
Um,
And flips too, probably.
basically, yeah.
Okay.
Like,
Because you did mention that you went to an outside market, you said with Mike McKay on a mobile home,
On
or
what
was
oh,
that
it was
Duval?
just far west side, like
Mm,
that crazy zip code. I can't even think of it. Way out on the west side.
like Briceville or something.
Yeah, it is. It is Duval though, and
Oh.
we're basically all there. A lot of our builds are in the urban core. You got a couple builds going in Clay County off
mhm.
Alligator Road, Middleburg down there. But Jeff's doing our stuff down there right now, which is going really well. Jeff's a good friend and partner on that stuff. And we do some flips in Clay too. I love Orange Park and Middleburg, in that area for flips.
Yeah.
I'm a little weary of trailers right now.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of success with trailers over the past 3 years, but I feel like that market especially has slowed significantly in the past 6 months.
Right.
It's almost
Wow.
like not affordable anymore. Like
Yeah,
they were more affordable, but now it's like it's almost the same price as just
I
buying
know.
a house,
It's
and you
like,
can get lending easily, and it'll appreciate.
right.
It's like,
So
what do you
what's
do?
indicating to you that it's slowed is the retail buyer pool
Yeah,
for trailers?
yeah, and insurance is becoming a lot tougher for those people,
Wow.
and the prices on trailers in Middleburg got out of control for a while.
Yeah,
Out of control.
Yeah.
It's like they're selling for
It's
like
a lot
300
of
grand.
people, for
I
some
know.
reason, at one point, I guess now too, like a lot of people I talk to on the phone, for some reason they want to leave on land on a trailer. And it didn't ever make sense to me. And I guess now they're coming to their senses with the lending changing and the insurance
Yeah.
changing,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So you mentioned that you went into this with a vision of where you want to be in, let's say, 5 or 10
Yeah.
years. So is the goal to expand out of Duval, or do you just want to dominate the Duval County? What's your what's your vision looking like in 5 years from now, or maybe 10 years from now?
So 3 years from now, home builders are set up in divisions, and a division can typically build 450 to 650 houses a year. So we should be completing division number one in October 2026. At that point, we'll start the process of building division number two, and I don't see any reason for us to have to leave Northeast Florida for that. At some point, we will, for sure. But I feel like we'll have two divisions here in Northeast Florida before we even think about moving. So what we'd probably do is, I love Nassau County right now. You'll probably have one division doing Nassau and North Duval, and you'll probably have another one in Clay and South Duval. Um, And I feel like here we can get 950 to a little over 1,000 houses a year in Northeast Florida before we have to really expand.
Wow.
But I do see us expanding at some point out of Northeast Florida once there's no point in taking on that, at least in this business, that operational pain until you've saturated where you're at, in my opinion, and you feel like you need to go somewhere else or you see a big opportunity elsewhere. So things could change, of course, but for now, I see us staying here probably for the next 4 or 5 years in Northeast
Do you
Florida.
feel like great people will be your biggest pain point for growth?
Um,
When I say
that's a
pain
good
point,
that's a good
obviously
question.
a challenge.
I think for any organization, people are always your limiter of growth, including myself. At any time, I am the lid on the organization. How big can I think with capital? How much can I raise? How much risk am I willing to take? Your volume in the field is, of course, going to be capped by great leadership, but we're a leadership-based company. We say all the time that we're a leadership and people company
Mm-hmm.
that just happens to build homes, and we're very focused on that. We have Wally Conway, who I'm sure you know, who's
Oh
in the
yeah.
office basically all the time,
Wasn't he an
running our leadership.
insurance guy or maybe I'm
Home
not
inspector,
home
and he's
inspector?
a
Okay.
Naval Academy guy, career in the Navy.
Wow.
So he does our leadership program, which we take really seriously. We had one this morning. There's a executive leadership team group that we meet every single week. We have a Take Flight leadership launch program for anyone that's stepping up. We still do our book club. So I understand that will be our limiter,
Yeah.
people.
Yep.
So we're very purposeful with hiring great people and growing them from within, both emotionally and as leaders.
Yeah. Do you remember the Yellowbird Speak event that
I
G and
do.
I used to run?
Yeah.
Dude, Wally Conway was at every one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's funny because ever since I met him the first time, he instantly just took me in as a friend and I didn't even barely know him.
Yeah.
And he would just have the greatest comments and say things like, yeah, anything for a friend. I'm like, thank you. You barely know me, but I appreciate that. So he has, yeah, just a great personality for
Yeah.
sure.
And it's great too to have him. Wally just turned 69, and it's another voice in a different age with more wisdom way more wisdom than I have. So
Wow.
people just don't have to hear me squawking at them about leadership and this and that. Now you have Wally with all his knowledge and wisdom coming in, giving everyone a different perspective, coming at it from a different angle. And it's just the dynamic has been incredible on our leadership team and the younger guys.
Gotcha. All right, man. Well, since we're at the tail end, do you want to just let people know, I mean, how to reach out to you, or if anyone wants to sell a project or some
Yeah.
land?
Yeah. So we're actively
This one, sorry.
this one.
Yeah.
We're actively buying developments and land. So um, it's best to just send them to Coop. Coop's everywhere. You can find his information
Yep.
everywhere. Coop or Ben or the info thing. So on Facebook, or if you have Coop's number, or just emailing us at info@flight.builders, all that will get to Coop. But yeah, Instagram and Facebook DMs are easy as well. And if you're an investor and you're looking you own some lots and you're looking to build on it, we'd be happy to bid them as well. So those are the main two things we're doing right now. We're buying lots. We're still JVing flips and stuff, lending some hard money, and building cost plus. So a few different things.
Cool. And before we wrap up, are there any so you said developments and infill lots and stuff. Are there any unique builds or projects that you guys are working on, or are you just keeping it cookie cutter?
Nope. I've always been a base hit and consistency sort of guy. So everything I do is pretty calculated. So even the first development we do, I'll eliminate risk as much as possible at this time, because I'm just not 100% of the time. What takes guys like us down is greed and cash. 100% of the time. One domino falls, the next domino falls, then the next one, the next one, the next one. So I'm I take the stewardship of the cash we have both in flight and on our own balance sheet very, very seriously. I take the company very seriously, and I try to filter every decision I make and make sure that it's not my ego or greed that's making that decision, down to, the ego numbers of how many houses you're doing.
Hmm.
I try to make sure all those decisions are in the best interest of everyone there. So, nothing, that's a long way to say we're not doing anything interesting. We're doing stuff straight infill lots. We're staying in the affordable housing, the lower price points,
Yeah.
and I think the country needs more of it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Absolutely.
I think it's not as sexy to build a $225,000 house, but
Yeah.
we don't need more $500,000 houses.
Right, right.
We need more $200,000.
I thought I heard a rumor, and I hate to keep elongating this, but I thought I heard a rumor of you maybe being interested in building pad splits.
Yeah, no, I would 100% do that. It wasn't a rumor. I think I direct messaged you and said, "Hey, I know you know people doing pad splits. I think that is a good solution for the affordable housing
Mhm.
problem. And if you guys put together a plan, or wanted me to put together a plan, and you had an infill lot that you wanted to build a 6-bedroom house on, I would do that. And I don't think any other builder would do that." And our mission is solving that affordable housing problem and developing leaders who are focused on it. And I think pad split is becoming more and more necessary as housing gets more and more out of reach for
Yeah.
people.
Right, right.
So
Well, it's
yeah,
great that there's lending programs for pad split now too,
Yeah.
through Jeff Weller. Shout out to Jeff
Yeah.
Weller.
awesome.
Yeah.
So
Dubs.
yeah, if you're a pad split guy and you have a lot and you want to work with me on a plan that can be repeated, I'm happy to build that.
Maybe we do one pad split and one regular, one single family.
We'll see.
Cool, man. All right, everyone. Have a good night. Good day, whatever.